Picture this. You're scrolling through nature documentaries, watching baby animals do cute things. Bear cubs wrestling, lion cubs pouncing on their dad's tail, elephant calves learning to use their trunks. Adorable, right? Now imagine a 2-year-old chimpanzee, let's call him Charlie. Charlie wakes up one morning in the dense forests of Uganda. His mom is grooming another adult nearby. Charlie looks up at the massive tree canopy above him, 50, maybe 60 feet high, and Charlie decides, with absolutely zero hesitation, that he's going to climb to the very top. No practice. No training. No adult supervision telling him to be careful. Just pure unfiltered toddler confidence meeting a 50-foot drop. Here's what's terrifying. New research shows that chimpanzee toddlers, between the ages of 1 and 4, are statistically the most reckless mammals on the planet. They make human teenagers look like safety instructors. They make extreme sports athletes look cautious. And the result, chimpanzee toddlers have one of the highest mortality rates of any primate species. By the end of this video, you'll understand why being a baby chimp is basically nature's deadliest extreme sport. And the reason they do this, it's not what you think. Stay with me. Let's start with some context. Chimpanzees are our closest living relatives, sharing about 98% of our DNA. They're incredibly intelligent, social, and complex. Adult chimps are cautious, calculated climbers. They test branches before putting their full weight on them. They plan their routes through the canopy. They've learned, through years of experience, exactly what their bodies can and cannot do. But they're toddlers. Completely different story. Researchers studying wild chimpanzee populations have been documenting something extraordinary. Chimp toddlers engage in what scientists are calling high-risk exploratory behavior at rates that dwarf every other age group. Let me translate that. They do incredibly stupid, dangerous things, constantly. A study published in 2020 tracked 47 young chimpanzees over a 5-year period. Here's what they found. Toddler chimps attempt to climb to dangerous heights an average of 8 to 12 times per day. That's not a typo. 8 to 12 times. Every single day, they leap between branches that adult chimps wouldn't trust. They dangle from vines they haven't tested. They play on dead tree limbs that could snap at any moment. One researcher described watching a 3-year-old chimp climb to the top of a 60-foot tree, hang upside down by one hand, and start swinging back and forth like it was on a playground swing set. The researcher said her heart was pounding the entire time. The chimp's mother barely looked up. Now let's talk about what happens when this recklessness meets reality. Falls are the #1 cause of death for young chimpanzees in the wild. Not predators, not disease, not starvation, falls. The same study found that approximately 20 to 30% of chimpanzee toddlers die before reaching age 5, and falls account for nearly 40% of those deaths. Think about that. If you had a classroom of 30 baby chimps, 6 to 9 of them wouldn't make it to kindergarten, and 4 of those deaths would be from falling out of trees. But it's not just fatal falls. The researchers also documented non-fatal injuries, broken bones, dislocated limbs, severe lacerations, concussions. One juvenile chimp in the study fell from about 30 feet and survived, but broke its arm so badly that it couldn't use that limb for nearly 3 months. In the wild, an injury like that is often a death sentence anyway. Can't climb, can't get food, can't escape predators. Another young chimp fell and landed on a sharp branch that punctured its abdomen. It survived initially but developed an infection and died 2 weeks later. These aren't freak accidents. This is happening all the time. So here's the obvious question. Why? Why are these toddlers so reckless? And more importantly, why haven't they evolved to be more careful? This is where it gets really interesting. Because at first glance, this makes no evolutionary sense. Natural selection should favor caution, right? The careful chimps should survive and pass on their genes. The reckless ones should die young and take their daredevil tendencies out of the gene pool. But that's not what's happening. Scientists have proposed several theories, and the truth is probably a combination of all of them. Theory 1. The learning imperative. Chimpanzees live in incredibly complex 3-dimensional environments. The forest canopy is their highway, their grocery store, their bedroom, their escape route from predators. An adult chimp that can't navigate the canopy efficiently is basically disabled. So young chimps need to learn these skills fast. And the only way to learn is through experience, trial and error. Except when you're 50 feet up, Errors are fatal. Human children learn to walk by falling down dozens of times. But they're falling from a height of 2 feet onto soft ground. Chimp toddlers are essentially learning to parkour through a skyscraper made of branches. The stakes are infinitely higher. Theory 2. The neurological gap. Here's something disturbing. Recent brain imaging studies on young chimps show that their risk assessment centers develop much slower than their motor skills and curiosity drive. In other words, their bodies and their desire to explore develop way faster than their ability to understand danger. It's like giving a 2-year-old human the physical capabilities of an Olympic gymnast, but none of the judgment. That toddler would kill themselves within a week. That's basically what nature has done to baby chimps. Theory 3. The supervision problem, and this is the big one. This is what really sets chimp toddlers apart from human children. Human societies have evolved incredibly sophisticated systems for keeping our young alive. We have constant supervision. We have playgrounds designed for safety. We have rules and warnings and adults who intervene before disaster strikes. Chimp mothers. They're busy. They're foraging for food. They're navigating complex social hierarchies. They're dealing with their own survival challenges. A chimp mother might glance up every few minutes to check on her toddler, but she's not hovering. She can't hover. She has her own life or death concerns. And here's the kicker. Chimp society doesn't really have a concept of collective childcare the way humans do. Other adults in the group generally don't intervene when a toddler is doing something dangerous. It's not their problem. So little Charlie is up in that tree, 60 feet high, testing a branch that's clearly too thin to hold his weight, and there's nobody there to say stop. Don't do that. Come down right now. There's just Charlie, his underdeveloped risk assessment, and gravity. But here's what's fascinating. The toddlers who survive this gauntlet, they become the most skilled, most adaptable adults in the group. Researchers have tracked individual chimps from infancy through adulthood, and there's a clear pattern. The chimps who engaged in the most exploratory behavior as toddlers and survived became the most successful adults. They're better foragers. They're better at escaping predators. They rise higher in social hierarchies because they're more confident and capable. It's like nature's version of survivor bias taken to the extreme. The ones who made it through the deadly toddler years are legitimately superior specimens. But let's be clear, that doesn't make the system any less brutal. Imagine if human society worked this way. If we just let toddlers do whatever they wanted, knowing that 20 to 30% of them would die, but the survivors would be exceptional. We'd call that monstrous. We'd never accept it. But in the chimpanzee world, there's no alternative. Evolution has created this terrible trade-off. High childhood mortality in exchange for highly skilled adults, and individual chimps have no choice but to roll the dice. Now let's zoom out for a second. Because this isn't just about chimpanzees. This tells us something profound about human evolution. We evolved from ancestors that probably faced similar challenges. But somewhere along our evolutionary path, something changed. We developed larger brains with slower maturation rates. We also developed culture. We created systems to protect our young. We invented teaching. This is why human toddlers, despite being reckless by our standards, are incredibly cautious compared to chimp toddlers. But here's the uncomfortable truth. We haven't completely eliminated the trade-off. Even in modern human societies, we struggle with this balance. How much freedom do we give children to explore and learn? How much do we protect them from risk? Chimpanzees show us the extreme end of the spectrum. Maximum freedom, maximum risk, maximum mortality. And the ones who survive are incredibly capable. Humans have chosen a different path, but we're still navigating that same fundamental tension. So, why do chimpanzee toddlers have such a short life expectancy? Because they're born into a world that demands perfection. They need to master complex skills quickly. With underdeveloped brains, minimal supervision, and no safety net, they're not suicidal. They're not stupid. They're trapped in an evolutionary bind. Some of them make it. They become strong, skilled, successful chimpanzees who pass on their genes. But many don't. They fall, they break, they die. And their mothers, who might have watched them take that last fatal climb, eventually move on. They might grieve, in whatever way chimps grieve, but they'll have other offspring. Evolution continues. It's brutal, it's tragic, and it's been happening for millions of years. The next time you see footage of baby chimps playing in the trees, swinging from branch to branch, looking adorable and carefree. Remember this? You're watching a high-stakes survival game. Every jump is a gamble. Every climb is a test. And roughly 1 in 4 of those adorable babies won't make it to their 5th birthday. That's the reality of growing up wild. That's the price nature charges for living in the trees. And that's why being a chimpanzee toddler is one of the most dangerous jobs on the planet. Thanks for watching.